Hello and welcome back for Game 2, where Counter Logic Gaming takes on Clutch Gaming. Let's take a look at the players on stage. Selecting blue side, it's Counter Logic Gaming, with Darshan in the top lane, Reignover in the jungle, huhi mid, Stixxay bottom, Biofrost on support, and Coach Ziggs.
And on the red side today, their opponents are going to be Clutch Gaming in the top lane, Solo. In the jungle, LirA, mid lane, Febiven, bot and support going to be Apollo and Hakuho with Coach D-Lin.
Clutch Gaming are taking the envy with upgrades aspect of their team and showing real improvements week after week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what people were hoping to see from Clutch Gaming when the roster was initially formed. The mid and top lane are really delivering. Solo has not been exploitable, and Febiven has been incredible. It has been very, very impressive. And you couple that with the fact that LirA has been looking a lot better in the last couple of weeks, and this team certainly has the potential to continue that 4-game win streak.
And while Clutch Gaming are ascending in skill as the split goes, CLG, a team who came out of the offseason with this perceived very high skill ceiling, currently have their feet planted firmly on the floor.
And it's time kind of for CLG to stop making excuses, right? This is pretty far into the season. They're tied for 8th, and honestly, they look like it. This is a team that has not been performing well. They need to be able to change things up. They need to be able to fix some of their serious issues, because CLG was a team that used to be praised for its macro, and they seem to be getting rolled in the later stages of the game, even when they are already ahead. And that is really disappointing to see, both for the team and for the fans.
And while criticisms might be mounting for CLG, Darshan recognizes that it's time to put up or shut up.
So against Clutch, I think there was an interview where Febiven was like, I don't know what these guys are doing. They're just like inting into us. And I kind of can see why he said that. Like, I can kind of agree a little bit with that sentiment, because we did give them a lot of free kills. And I don't think they're a bad team, but I definitely feel they're a team that we should be able to beat. Not only that, going into this week with Clutch and Golden Guardians, if we don't win, we might not even be able to make it to playoffs. So I think it's a really important week for us to 2-0 and kind of move our way back up the standings so that we can get into position for playoffs.
I mean, they honestly really need to start trying to reverse their fortunes, because not only is Clutch on a 4-game winning streak, CLG is on a 4-game losing streak, right? These are teams that really have had opposite results as of late, and they really do need to start turning things around, because even some of the areas of strength that we're expecting to see from CLG, you know, Stixxay has been a solid AD carry for a long time, was exceptional in 2016 especially. He has not been performing well, and he needs to step it up. And the team as a whole needs to step it up if they want to make the playoffs.
It's like you said, Ezreal, this isn't a team that's sitting in 8th place and we're looking at it saying, oh, they've just had a tough schedule, or oh, a couple things haven't worked out. This is a team that's sitting in 8th place, and people who are looking at it and analyzing it say, yes, that makes sense. And that should be something that concerns any team, because you don't want to look like an 8th place team. You need to look like you deserve the spot and deserve all the talk that was being had about you before the season started about how good this roster was.
Definitely so, especially when you consider how powerful this team has been in North America over the last couple of years, right? They have been a dominant organization. They have taken down North American titles. They have, you know, probably the best international performance North America has ever had at MSI 2016. So this is a team that there are very high expectations for. It's a team that was talking about, you know, their international aspirations, and right now they need to focus on the short term. They need to focus on improving within North America, competing against a lot of these teams, because many of the rosters that were considered to be very weak at the start of the year are picking up steam, are starting to look better. When you look at, you know, a Golden Guardians or an Optic Gaming or even Clutch, a lot of people have them towards the lower end of the standings, and these rosters are performing and are looking better and better, and CLG needs to keep pace.
Well, for CLG, that pace will all start with a first step here against Clutch Gaming. If they can end that streak and find a win, bans Varus, Galio, Ornn, banned out by CLG. Clutch banning Skarner, GP, and Zoe away. CLG first picking that Kalista, Clutch responding with Azir and Sejuani. And we were talking about this a little bit before the games today. It is interesting to see the ban away on the Skarner coming out from Clutch, because this has been LirA's best champion.
It certainly has, and I think it makes it kind of somewhat surprising, right? Like you're saying, it's very, very weird to see when LirA's stats on Skarner have been so much massively better than on everything else. I mean, he's averaging down 600 gold at 15 when not on Skarner versus plus 50 gold at 15 when on Skarner, right? That is an incredibly big difference for this champion, and you can kind of make the argument that is it the playstyle that's changing, or did this one champion just kind of bridge the gap, right? Because LirA had been pretty vocal earlier in the season talking about the fact that, hey, I used to just play Lee Sin and Nidalee and these sorts of champions, and I was able to kind of smash on those by playing the early game, and it doesn't work in this meta. It doesn't work with this team because we need to play a different style. And now we get to maybe find out, has he actually adapted and fixed some of those weaknesses, or was Skarner just kind of covering that up?
We're going to get to find out, as he will be on that Sejuani like we already mentioned. The response in the jungle from CLG is Zac, and they grab Vel'Koz for the mid lane against Azir. We've seen huhi play this before. It is one of those specialty champs that he likes to break out in certain matchups, in certain moments, and we're going to get to see it here against the Azir of Febiven, who has got a pentakill on this champion already so far this split.
And it was
It's a
against
force to
CLG.
be reckoned with, yeah. It's not exactly a good memory. It's one that you want to bottle away as fast as you can.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, the interview that Darshan was talking about, Febiven was kind of laughing about the fact that, yeah, they're just running into me. They're just giving me all these kills. I don't know what was happening. I mean, in that fight where he gets a pentakill, Reignover actually died twice in the fight. He started the fight dying. He respawns, he runs back, he dies again. That's the pentakill. But either way, huhi is going to be on this Vel'Koz. It is one of the lane matchups that can be pretty powerful against someone like the Azir. It's one of the few champions in the game, along with things like Xerath, that actually have the range to match and actually punish that Azir. So, even in the later stages, right, if you're looking at the team fight, it can be tough to actually position properly when the Vel'Koz ultimate can just take you down from full on the Azir if you misstep, if you're putting yourself in a bad position, especially in combination with a Zac. If you can find someone with that elastic slingshot, bring in the Azir, combo him down, that can be pretty powerful. But a little bit of a red flag for me with CLG is, their bot lane has not been performing very, very well, but they put so much priority on getting this bot lane pick, right? They went for a first pick Kalista. They banned away the Varus, and they need to be able to kind of bully and dominate that bot lane for that to have paid off, because you gave over the Sejuani, who is the power pick when Skarner is off the table, and you gave over the Azir, who is such a powerful pick for Febiven here. So you're giving up a lot to get that Kalista. You need to see them have success.
Yeah, it shows a lot of faith being put in the bottom lane that, like you said, hasn't fallen on the best of times recently, but looking at the bans across the second phase, it's support, 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 and support. All of those tanky supports, the Braum, the Alistar, the Thresh, the Tahm Kench, all banned away. Clutch go ahead and swoop up that last remaining tanky support, the Taric picked up there for Hakuho. The response from CLG, sort of a pseudo-tank, but still one hell of an initiator with the Rakan.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you almost never see the Rakan separated from the Xayah. People almost exclusively play this champion with the other, like in pro play. It's pretty rare these days to see it picked separately, but there's a lot of bans on the table, as you pointed out. 4 tank bans, the 5th kind of taken away here. He's not going to be willing to go to a more traditional kind of range support, so he is going to be ending up in this matchup, and let's see how he's going to be able to perform, because Rakan does have very powerful engage alongside that Zac. They are going to be having a pretty powerful entrance here, especially when you consider the fact that you can actually Kalista ultimate the Rakan in for even additional range. Kalista ultimate into the Flash RW is a ridiculous amount of engage range there. The blind pick Gnar is going to be answered here, though, by Sion, and Sion has been really picking up steam as of late, getting a lot more professional play. There are a couple different schools of thought on how to play it. Some people are going Glacial Augment, but traditionally this has come out as a good lane matchup because of the Emax Comet Sion. You can build up some of that early mana. You actually only put 1 point in Q. You're going Emax into W. It's just about actually poking out this Gnar when he is in mini form with that Comet, with your E, and trying to be able to just kind of farm it out. You're denying the Gnar an easy lane against the tank, and generally speaking, Gnar is able to dominate that lane and put the tank behind, whereas in this case, Solo should be able to go even or even better and then have a lot of teamfight impact.
Yeah, the teamfight impact is so big on Sion. If he can line up that CC correctly, you get the slows into the knockups, and even if you do go down, the glory in death allowing you to still have that presence in the fight and make your opponents disengage.
Definitely so. And I mean, their front line is going to be very, very powerful here. You have the Sion and you have the Sejuani backed up by a Taric. That speaks to so much teamfight strength here from Clutch Gaming. A lot of it is going to be about how well can huhi position to kind of avoid that damage and be able to return fire with his ultimate. And honestly, how well does CLG's bot lane do? If you are not going positive in lane here, with this first pick Kalista, then the draft seems like maybe it fell a little bit flat.
Yeah, it'll seem a little misguided if the Kalista doesn't end up accomplishing quite a lot this game. But that being said, I'm also Going to have eyes on huhi. Like you said, a lot of this is going to come down to his positioning, keeping himself safe, making it so he can deal out that artillery-style long-range damage. And also, I mean, on Vel'Koz, 3.5 of your abilities, I'm not really going to count the ult all the way because it's really kind of hard to miss, but it's skill shots, right?
Yeah.
Every single thing comes down to how you aim it, how you play it. So for huhi, I'm really going to be closely watching how he performs on this pick that we really don't see anyone else play.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Vel'Koz is actually one of the highest skill cap champions there are, because not only is the Q a skill shot, it's a multiple part skill shot, right?
Trigonometry skill shot.
Exactly. And this is something that I really had been wanting to talk about, is the difference in their macro play. When you compare the first 10 games of 2017 summer versus the first 10 games of this summer, look at the blue line here. That is last year going up and to the right. When they get any sort of a lead later in the game, they're doing better and better and better and better. The early game, this split is actually superior to what it was last year, but they are doing nothing with it. So their macro game has really fallen off. Even with these mid-game leads, you look at the 10 to 15 minute mark where they're doing quite well, they can't get that into any more of an advantage. It's actually a steady downward trend in almost all their games past the 15-minute mark. They don't seem to be able to play the map like the CLG of old, and that is very concerning.
Yeah, that feels really bad when you see the line start to trend upwards, and then by about 18 minutes every time around, it's just plummeting right back down below that positivity mark. So CLG really looking to fix up some of those errors, and we're starting to run out of time here, Ezreal. We're on week 6 now. There's 9 weeks of regular split play. They've got to get it together soon.
It's like Darshan said as well. They're playing against Clutch and Golden Guardians, I believe, this week. Those are teams you need to be beating if you want to make a run for the playoffs. It's too late to give up any wins. And if you cannot take down Clutch, if you cannot take down Golden Guardians and teams like that, then how can you expect to take it down, the Cloud9s and the Echo Foxes when you run into them in the second half of the schedule? There are no more gimme games for CLG.
And I really like talking about comparing the weaker matchups to the harder matchups too when it comes down to, oh, are they going to make it into playoffs or not? Because, okay, let's say you do have a few easier matchups leading the way into playoffs, and you do make it into playoffs. Well, if you just barely scrape by those easier matchups, welcome to playoffs, where you're against all the best teams in the league. Yeah. What are you going to do in those matchups?
And we've seen that in the past, certainly teams that have kind of, especially teams perhaps that had a really strong start. I'm thinking of Envy a while back, getting in 6th place, and teams like that can sometimes really struggle when you barely scrape your way in, or you're having a decline in performance towards the second half of the split. You barely make it, and these teams that are coming into playoffs on a high are going to be so much more prepared, are going to be so much more ready to actually take you down, and something you definitely need to be kind of course correcting for early on in the split.
Well, early on in this lane, Febiven controlling things here in the middle of the map on that Azir as LirA grabs the Scuttle Crab for himself, looks to move into enemy territory here. Is going to find out that Reignover hasn't moved to his own blue, but they should have seen that Scryer's Bloom get started off by LirA there, so Reignover knows LirA's in here. Ward should spot him out. LirA backs himself away.
Neither jungler has Smite, but they may not be aware of this. They're actually just going to try to do this. Febiven is moving faster, so this could simply be LirA's buff. He does have the E to try to execute it here, and should be able to get that. Yep, nicely done.
Well played.
That's going to be a pretty good start for them. Solo doing pretty well on the top side. Febiven using his superior early wave clear to actually facilitate that. That is a 2-part play. LirA cannot go for that if his mid laner is being pushed in. And that's good communication. It's a small thing, but it works out well.
And it honestly just took Reignover so long getting up there to that buff. I mean, look, his Krug camp is cleared. So taking that extra time, I mean, yeah, it gives you a more efficient path overall, but when you end up losing out on your buff because of it, ends up being pretty disastrous at the end of the day. Clutch Gaming's bottom lane will be forced under their turret early here. Very low mana on both of them as well. So this Kalista pick that we were talking about, that we were putting so much pressure on to be worthwhile, seems to be paying off, at least for the first couple of minutes of the game here. Of course, stories aren't told and games aren't won in just 5 minutes, but we'll have to keep checking up on that as time goes on.
Yeah, it's so far so good. I think that definitely you want to be able to continue keeping that pressure. You want the Ezreal and the Taric stuck under their turret. These are two champions that would like to get a relatively early tier. In this meta, Taric even loves going for that. And if you can actually delay that base longer and longer and longer and keep them out on the map, it's going to feel really good. I mean, there's already 1,200 gold here in the pocket of Apollo. he would love to be able to base when he's low on mana, but if Stixxay and Biofrost can keep vision out so they know they're safe from LirA, can keep these guys shoved in, it can be very difficult to actually find a good timing to get back to base where you won't lose too much. And that's somehow, sometimes the way you can actually get an advantage in these types of lanes.
And talking about advantages and where everybody decides to put those focuses on, I want to comment really quickly on the fact that LirA has taken domination secondary on the Sejuani, when normally you will see somebody go for either free boots from Inspiration or Celerity from the Sorcery Tree to get some extra movement speed. LirA going in there, I'm assuming that's strictly for zombie wards to maintain more overall control over the map and have that bloated vision score that we talk about, just having those extra eyes all over the place. I think that's an interesting approach compared to the North.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, he has gone for the zombie ward and the Relentless Hunter as his domination secondary, so really a heavy focus on that vision. And yes, you do give up a little bit of kind of maybe selfish stats, right? He's not going to have the stopwatch like Reignover will, so you lose a bit of playmaking there. But you know, the thought process makes quite a bit of sense when you think about it. Okay, great. I'm going to lose out on the stopwatch, but if I have additional wards out on the map, if I can stop one play from happening, that kind of evens out, right? And throughout the course of the game, you're expecting to get much more value over time from the zombie wards than you will from that one individual stopwatch play, unless Reignover can really snowball a lane or completely change a fight with that.
Right now, it is a few hundred gold of a lead in terms of Clutch Gaming's edge over their opponents. You can see a lot of that lead actually coming from the jungle, where LirA is about 400 gold up compared to Reignover, but the ult from huhi, they're going to make Febiven dash away, but Febiven doesn't lose anything for that. He's not using either Summoner, he's not using his own ulti, so huhi not getting much value so far from that.
Definitely not the ultimate that huhi wanted, but this is something that he actually likes to do quite a bit, is actually look for these ultimates where you're just getting pressure, you're pushing your opponent out of lane, and Darshan pretty far up here. LirA is in the bush.
LirA showing up with the counterattack there as Darshan tries to make a move onto Solo. One more hit will trigger that Sejuani stun. More CC comes out, and that is it. He brings the hammer down for first blood.
Yeah, Darshan caught reaching there a little bit. He doesn't have any vision. There's no wards in his opponent's jungle, has no idea where LirA is, goes aggressive in the Mega Gnar, and he's been caught out like this quite a few times in the season, trying to punish his opponent in that 1v1. Instead, loses his flash, gets first blooded, and doesn't even get a summoner from his opponent. So that is a big deal, but on the bottom side of the map, CLG have gotten a lot here. Because their jungler was topside, Clutch have to back off somewhat. It's first turret going over to CLG, and you can say that the spot lane has paid for itself now. And here it is. You look at this, Darshan doesn't have the vision. He knows he's in an advantage in the 1v1 as far as this trading when he's going into Mega Gnar, but no way to actually get out. You can see that fourth hit passive is up there. When you flash and that still has not been used, you use the E to actually stun him up, get the bonus damage there. Then you ultimate after it, and it's such a long CC chain that it sets up for the smash there from Sion and First Blood on Solo.
So a good read there from LirA of where he needed to be and what he needed to do, sort of going back to that conversation that we were having during picks and bans about, has LirA just adapted his playstyle a bit in his time on Skarner, or was it Skarner just allowing him to build advantages for himself that he otherwise wouldn't have had? So far, he seems to be out-farming his opponent. He's had one successful gank to his opponent's none, so he's doing a good job so far.
You know, so he definitely has done well, right? And I think that you have to give credit where credit is due as far as that goes. He's looking pretty good. You can see Bot has actually swapped lanes to answer. Apollo did get a really nice buy-off now, and we'll be going towards an Iceborne Gauntlet, but you know, the bottom lane pick has paid off. I think it's fair to say here for CLG. They get the first turret down. They have a pretty nice buy. They delayed the base timing quite a bit from Apollo, and despite the fact that things did not go well on the other side of the map, that's not really on them, right? And Darshan may have a tough time in this 1v1 because Solo is rushing straight towards that Frozen Heart. He's going to have CDR, which is going to allow him to continue poking out more, have more ultimates, and honestly just be so hard to take down.
CLG thinking about trying to take down the duo lane of Clutch here in the top side, though. Apollo and Hakuho wanting to get away from this one. Biofrost trying to make the initiation, but an excellent flash away. Clutch Gaming's going to keep their guys alive and grab that Ocean Drink.
That was so fast from Apollo. Yes, he is expecting to engage as Biofrost is coming forward, but you still have to be quick enough to actually do it because the flash RW coming out of Rakan is incredibly fast, and being able to get away from that is a big deal, but it's going to be another turret probably going the way here of CLG, or at least a lot of damage put down. Clutch did trade for a dragon on the bottom side of the map, and a relatively early Ocean is going to help their laners out even more. And that's going to be very nice for the Taric, for the Ezreal. Honestly, for everyone on this team, they're going to get quite a bit of advantage.
Oh, nice interrupt there on the dash. A lot of damage coming through with that ulti. Febiven knows it's not enough to kill him, though. And that knowledge means he doesn't have to use a summoner spell.
And yeah, knowledge is power, but huhi uses this like this all the time. He loves to get lane control with that ultimate. Chunk out your opponent, try to push him back to base, and try to get turret damage down, try to get lane pressure. That's how he utilizes it, because the cooldown is really not that long on the ultimate. Even before he has much CDR, you know, at this point in the game, it's a minute and a half. It's not that big of a deal, and as he picks up more and more cooldown reduction, it will be a very low cooldown. So far so good for huhi and the bot lane of CLG, but Clutch is getting wins elsewhere, in the jungle, in the top side, and Febiven is scaling very well here too. So it's going to be about who can kind of take their advantages and extend them. So far, CLG trying to do that on the top side of the map, trying to work down this turret.
Yeah, constantly brute forcing into this with those bottom laners. They've rotated towards the top side. We did also see Reignover take the Rift Herald just a couple of moments ago, so that's also going to be available for CLG. We'll have to see where and when they decide to use that one, if they can get a lot of value there.
I mean, honestly, if CLG can take down the top turret with their bot lane, then move 5-man mid and drop the Rift Herald, crack all the outer turrets there in a reasonable pace, that is going to be a big advantage for them as far as gaining vision, as far as getting tempo in the game. So I would like to see them go for that sort of a play, but if they feel that they're being stalled out too much on the top side, you can drop the Rift Herald there for a guaranteed turret kill, but you would ideally like to get more.
CLG still hanging around here, seeing if maybe they can
Biofrost
go
has
for a play. Biofrost could get something here. We'll have to see. Yes, they go in. The charm's going to be down. The knockup is there. Reignover coming in from the side, and Stixxay grabs himself a kill. Hakuho walks out, but Apollo will not do the same, and now CLG have the option to push.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. The Taric ultimate is just now coming up, so they had that timing window down quite well. They get onto Apollo, they take him down. That means not only do they get the turret, but they can actually save the Rift Herald for mid, and here comes Sion. Oh,
Okay, that was great for Febiven. In some trouble here, going to be taken very low, but instead he just baits his opponent in to hanging around a bit too long.
Yeah.
huhi goes down.
I mean, it was still a 1v2, and huhi is trying to turn that around, but maybe take the little win and actually just survive that gank, get out of there, because he was taking so much damage backwards, and the fact that a solo is there to also add more means he does get taken down. I mean, he's playing with cleanse. He doesn't have a heal, right? So certainly a little bit of an overreach, but either way, at least they're making plays happen on the top side.
At least I finally got to see something funny happen with Sion's ultimate. That was... I wasn't even thinking about that until his head bonked into the damn thing.
Yeah, his friend closed the door. It's messed up. So honestly, a really nice flash here from huhi. The reactions have been on point, and then you're going over to your buddy's house. He's like, yeah, come inside. Brings you get
nope.
there. Slams the door in your face. But huhi sticking around too long, and Febiven knowing his limits very well, honestly. Just tanks through it, heals up, takes down huhi in combination with solo, but this is the play that I was talking about, right?
Exactly.
Utilize your bot lane power, don't expend the Rift Herald, take down top lane, then spend the Rift Herald on this turret, which is largely untouched. Yes, huhi has gotten some chip on it, but that is all 3 outer turrets down at 13 minutes here. Well, about 14 for CLG, so things looking good as far as that goes for them, but they're losing in farm in a couple of these roles, and that is keeping the gold very, very close. Plus, Clutch has that Ocean Dragon, so there's some inherent power there too.
Well, the next Drake, Ezreal, is that Infernal, just
baby.
shy of 2 minutes from now, and that means blood is going to be everywhere for this thing. Teams always love to force fights for these. This is
The expectations are so high now.
They
What if
always,
they don't
it
fight?
always pays off. No, somebody's going to fight for this.
Okay.
I guarantee you. This is,
The
we're not
Captain
talking
Flower
Cloud,
seal of
we're not
approval.
talking Ocean, we're not talking Mountain Man. This is Infernal Drake. It's on fire.
That's true, that's true.
Teams love this thing, and I love it too because it means we get to see those mid-game fights get forced for it. Just about a minute away right now as you're starting to see item power spikes coming online in terms of those first items. You got your Nashor's Tooth on the Azir. You've got your Iceborne Gauntlet with the Tear on the Ezreal. On the opposite side, Morello Namakan, Blade of the Ruined King, the big items done for the carries.
Yeah, I mean, Kalista at this point of the game, very, very strong. The amount of CC that can come out with the Kalista ultimate into the Rakan ultimate is very big. And especially if huhi can actually get to level 11 for rank 2 of that life form disintegration ray, that is going to be a big deal for any team fight around that Infernal Dragon. I think that CLG is a team that will want to try to force this. The front line to me in the team fight is simply more consistent and going to be stronger in the later stages of the game, likely here for Clutch with triple frontline plus Taric ultimate and 2 very powerful carries. So CLG wants to make plays now while they have more ability to do that, right? Because later in the game, if you do not instantly catch Febiven, he will wipe your team off the map.
Yeah, you look at the team composition from Clutch Gaming and you say, okay, you got a big meatball in the top lane, big meatball in the jungle, meatball support. Well, where's the damage come from? Then you see Azir and you're like, okay, entire thing makes a lot of sense now because that one champion can do enough for the entirety of the 5-man squad. As over the wall goes LirA, looking to find the catch here, and they have found it with style. Biofrost goes down. Now Clutch seeing if they can find anyone else. The TP in from Solo just to make sure. As Clutch Gaming moves over towards that Infernal Drake, I told you there would be blood.
That's true, but we just got 1 kill, and it's only support, and it hardly even counts.
You're just trying to downplay it.
But either way, I mean, all of CLG's well-laid plans out the window, right? They wanted to try to set up around this, but look at the vision that Clutch has in that Dragon area. It's so powerful. Having all those wards laid down in advance meant they get to pick on Biofrost. CLG has to run. They have to give up that Dragon with really not any chance to challenge for it. So just a well-done, well-prepared for Dragon there from Clutch, and that's partly gifted to them because of their power on the bottom side of the map, as they had been around there more recently and just won the vision battle.
And turrets going the way of CLG, but Clutch Gaming building up their gold, as you said earlier, through the kills and through the farm that they've been getting. What that's telling me, though, is you got to be so worried if you're CLG about losing one of these upcoming fights, because as soon as you lose a fight, you lose that tempo for just a second, and Clutch gets to grab a few of those standing turrets, the game's going to quickly get out of control. Exactly.
I mean, those outer turrets are such easy grabs when you get to the 20-minute stage. They get knocked down so quickly at this point in the game, and in goes Febiven.
Febiven making that shuffle happen onto Reignover. The hourglass, not the hourglass, I should say the stopwatch, but either way, that stasis will not keep the man alive today. Apollo grabbing the kill on that one. 2-1-0 now on this Ezreal. The pick off onto the enemy jungler may not be all they get. huhi losing about a third of his HP just to solo Sion ulti. The follow-up from the E into the Comet will take him down below half, but CLG struggling to seem to find really much footing here.
And honestly, I hate to see those kind of stopwatch plays if you're going to use it when you're already dead. The item doesn't really sell for much anymore at all. It's really not worth hardly anything. And this is CLG feeling pretty confident. Febiven goes in, makes a nice play. And what are you going to get here from this stopwatch as Reignover, right? We actually talked earlier in the game about the comparison of, oh, LirA went for Zombie Ward, right? And it's, okay, well, Reignover has stopwatch. He can make a play.
Well, they're trying to make a play topside onto Febiven here, but he's just like, okay, you wanna use the quickness on me? That's fine. I'll just kill you, I guess. Not really too concerned about that one, but that's a pretty big ultimate down from CLG as the True Shot Barrage comes over the wall. Does find Bio. The damage isn't there. The accuracy is. I'll give him credit for that one.
I mean, Febiven is just playing this game so well. The most impressive part about it to me is how calmly he is playing in these situations. He gets all comboed there from Rakan, and the Kalista is there. He doesn't even blow a summon. He doesn't do anything. He's just returning damage. He knows his limits. He knows he can actually win that 1v2, and it's CLG that have to retreat.
And I want to go back to what you were talking about in the draft about this, because remember, this champion was open. CLG had the option for first pick, knowing what Febiven does on Azir. They opted for the Kalista first instead. They chose not to ban the Azir away either. And right now, Febiven seems to be showing them exactly why you normally want to deny this champion.
Definitely so. And I mean, in the laning phase, things were looking great for Stixxay and Biofrost, but they need to continue getting value from these picks. They need to continue pushing forward and really getting advantages, because that's kind of the cost that you get when you pick it early in the draft, right? Your first pick is worth a lot. You have to get something out of that generally.
You have to justify it.
Yeah, just like you have to justify your item build, you have to justify your rune choices and these sorts of things. And Reignover, got nothing from his stopwatch this game at all, right? Whereas the Zombie Ward is going to continue paying dividends for LirA throughout the entire game. So already you can look at the difference in vision score there, as Cal Flowers was pointing out, 58 to 31. A lot of that is going to be because of the Zombie Ward, and it's going to be because of all the extra eyes they will have on the map. So that's what you always have to look at in League, right? Everything has a cost. Are you getting more back than you put in? And that's generally how you can tell, are you winning or are you losing?
Yeah, it's all about the opportunity of what could have been, right? As long as you're making the most effective decision, then you can have some argument for why you were in the right. But we'll have to see how that plays out as the game goes on. Like you said, if this gets late game and Febiven is not immediately taken down by CLG, he will output a absolute disgusting amount of damage down onto the CLG line.
He definitely will, and CLG will always have opportunities because there's an incredible amount of playmaking on this team. With Rakan, with the Zac, with the Gnar coming in, there's so much CC, even the Kalista ultimate added into that, and huhi has the ability to try to zero out some of these people, so they will have their chances, right? This is not an auto loss if you get to late game, but one of the things I put a lot of stock into is how easy is it to execute your comp, right? And if you have to find this perfect pick on the one carry to win a fight, that's much harder to have it happen than it is to just play a straightforward, run your 3 tanks at them, press your Taric ultimate, and Ezreal and Azir DPS from the back. Because that is really all Clutch needs to do to be able to win a team fight, whereas CLG has to make a little bit of magic happen.
We saw huhi actually land some poke over the wall onto LirA as Reignover. Trying to engage right here, looking to go right into the back line, unstoppable, trying to bring them back, does find his way onto Apollo, but the counterattack going to begin now. The interruption onto huhi's ulti. True shot barrage from downtown, finding its way onto 3. Clutch Gaming will disengage this one, no losses.
And no losses for them, and you know, they do trade summoners on their AD carry, but they got both the summoners off huhi. They got a heal from Stixxay, a flash from Reignover, so definitely more costs there to the fight from CLG. And Clutch has the HP advantage here too. They will knock down the mid lane turret, starting to collect more of that gold that was left on the map. As you had pointed out earlier, the bot lane turret gets knocked down, now mid lane is down. That is their couple 1,000 gold advantage right here. And they're even going to be able to move over towards Baron and start warding that up. And you always have to worry about the ability of a team with Azir to knock down the Baron. It's so fast. You get the triple soldier stacked up, that gives you the extra attack speed, and you can kill it so incredibly quickly, and there's very little cost to starting it up because you have a Warmogs on your Sejuani, so even if LirA gets poked down, you back off, you reset, it's no big deal. So that's always going to have to be in the back of CLG's minds here now. Could they be on the Baron?
And that's the point I was making earlier before the fight broke out. Earlier we saw huhi hit LirA for about half his HP over the wall there near the entrance to the jungle, but because of the Warmogs, unless you kill him, it doesn't really matter because he's going to be back to full HP in under 20 seconds or so. So LirA, with that standard build on the Sejuani, getting a lot of value out of that versus a heavy poke damage champion like huhi's Vel'Koz, who does have the Leandry's Torment now, so considering his opponents are largely stacking health in terms of what the Sejuani's got and what you see there, even on the Taric as well, that's very effective, but you're still going to need plenty of damage to punch through those life bars as the Drake will fall. Third one this game, going the way of Clutch.
And he needs his front line to buy him that time there too, right? The life form disintegration ray, that Vel'Koz ultimate, is incredibly powerful, and if you can get a full channeled ult on a carry, great, you can probably knock him down in a team play. But you're making yourself stationary for quite a long time during the entire duration of that channel, and if you do not have the front line buying time for you, making space for you, then you do not have the ability to actually sit still and channel that ultimate. You will simply get taken down.
Apollo's health bar, by the way, that is 1 Q from huhi, and he also already got healed by Hakuho. So huhi can pretty much two-shot Apollo if he can hit him. But it's all about what you said earlier, Ezreal, the difficulty. The fact that, yeah, you have one guy on the enemy team you can do that to, and it's very, very hard to get the angles correct and actually hit those abilities onto him like that. But Apollo also, this is the guy whose Ezreal, remember, got famous earlier on in the split for his incredible steals against TSM in terms of taking away Drakes, taking away Barons. Apollo has had some awesome performances on this champion so far, so I do not expect him to be asleep at the wheel when playing Ezreal against something like huhi's Vel'Koz that, as I mentioned earlier, it's up to huhi to land those, and it's up to Apollo to outplay them.
Exactly, it's kind of that two pieces to it, right? You have to be able to aim it properly, but then your opponent also has the ability to react and try to dodge. I think Apollo's story has been pretty cool over these last couple of years because he has really been improving. He's a guy who's been around in the LCS for a long time, but over the last couple of years, I feel like he has gotten a lot more recognition as a strong bot lane player, as someone who can bring not only just consistency, but be a real point of power. And in the past, I feel like people just looked at him more as, oh, he's a serviceable bot laner. He can maybe go even.
He's all right.
But he's been carrying some games for this team, and as well for Envy, he was performing very, very well. With Apollo and Hakuho, this duo has just looked pretty damn good.
And that's a big step to make for any team, right? To go from having a guy who you say, yeah, he's all right, he does his job, to having a guy who says, this is the dude who will put the team on his back.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a win and a loss a lot of the time, is having that guy be the condition for you knocking down that enemy nexus.
And for having a team that has multiple win conditions, right? Multiple carries, and here comes Solo.
The initiation coming through. LirA and Solo looking to start things off, but now Biofrost trying to get the counter engage coming out for CLG. Stixxay in some trouble. True Shot Barrage coming through. Reignover there in the middle of everyone, but the damage from Febiven will cut down the CLG health bars. Clutch Gaming still looking to make more happen. Reignover going to be popped into the passive. 4 little blobs. I don't think any of them are walking away. Apollo grabs the killing spree. CLG trying to get themselves away from this one. Jungler dead, everyone low. Clutch Gaming will move to the Baron.
Yep, it's Baron time. Azir is going to be able to take this down very, very quickly. Hakuho can keep them at full health. And CLG TPing back in. Biofrost trying to rejoin the team. LirA moving over there. Can they get here in time?
CLG not going to go down without a fight on this. Solo looking to go back. He stops huhi. They're going to be able to secure the Baron. They're now mounting the counter assault. Darshan over the wall manages to escape, but Clutch Gaming, big win right there.
Yeah, that is huge. They get the team fight win in the mid lane. They take down the Baron, and Clutch able to execute so well on this. And when we get this replay, it really illustrates the difference between the ease of use for these comps. How powerful are you if you just play average in the team fight, right? Solo is going to be able to cruise to safety, but Biofrost looks for a big initiation and cannot find anything, right? And if you do not hit that big combo on the carries as the Rakan, you're adding almost nothing in a team fight, whereas Hakuho will always add value. So if you track the top side of the map here, look at Biofrost, there he goes, looking for the ultimate. Who does he get? One support who already timed his ultimate before that. Now what is the contribution to the rest of the fight, right? Taric has ultimated you and kept your carries safe. And you now are in a position where Rakan cannot re-engage. He's in full retreat. These carries are no longer safe. They're at low HP. Febiven's at full health. Apollo's at full health. The front line is more powerful, so unless you make those big plays happen, you really cannot win a fight like that.
And as you can see on your screen right now, if you happen to have any overreactions from this game, send them to us using the hashtag NALCS for Dash, Jat, and Mark Z to discuss on the analyst desk later on in the day here. But for now, we've still got to determine whether or not CLG can come back from this, because Clutch Gaming has slowly just been seeming to build themselves up a lead over the course of this game. They've been playing things cleanly. Of course, they lost a couple of turrets early on, but that CLG turret count, Ezreal, it was at 14 minutes that you said, this is awesome. CLG, they've got themselves 3 turrets, only 14 minutes into the game. 27 minutes into the game, still 3 turrets, no progress.
Exactly, and the bot lane has not been able to extend any advantages, and honestly, when you lose the Baron, when you lose control of your jungle, it gets so much harder for the playmaking, engaged type teams to actually make things happen, because you need to have vision. If the team sees you coming, you will not be able to catch them off guard, but here they have caught Febiven.
Febiven going to be in some trouble, but the Taric ulti will land in time to keep him safe and get him out again. Wonderfully done by Hakuho.
Yeah, that was so good from Hakuho, but Solo keeping him pretty aggressively there. Tanky enough to get away with it.
He's Sion, he don't care.
Yeah.
He's got 2 lives.
He'll be okay, and Double Ocean honestly means Febiven can kind of just stay around anyway. He's regenning up pretty quickly. Apollo was pushing here in the mid lane, trying to extend that advantage, but CLG needs to play around Fog of War, right? And the less and less pockets there are on the map that Clutch does not have vision, the less and less places there are to actually make those engages happen, right? You need to be able to force that, and it's hard to do.
Solo is not the guy that CLG should be looking to force anything on, though. They will take him down to about half HP. Remember, he's got Warmogs now, just like LirA does, so any damage is not going to stick whatsoever. They'll continue pushing onto this Tier 2. Clutch Gaming now officially with the turret lead after taking that Tier 2 there in the mid lane. We'll extend it now, taking the Tier 2 bottom side. CLG just calls it off. They realize there's no way to fight for this one, and Clutch will back off towards the Drake.
Yeah, they can go for their second Infernal here, which is going to be a really big deal. 4th straight Dragon, double Infernal advantage to be given over to Febiven there, who's so powerful already.
And because they're taking this, look at where the clock is, 29 minutes into the game. That's the cutoff for anything taken after that point spawns an Elder, so it's going to be a very early spawning Elder. If Clutch Gaming maintains control for the next 6 minutes, that's a game-winning buff.
It certainly can be. Solo is honestly fully online at this point. He has 40% CDR here on the Sion. He's actually, well, was just up in farm, but basically dead even on farm with Darshan. He's way more tanky. He's going to have a lot more use in the team fight. Even if he doesn't hit any skill shots, he's going to have a lot of value, and CLG now are trying to set up a bush camp here, but Clutch is together, and this could turn around on them.
LirA walks close.
Nice
Biofrost
combo.
able to find a nice combo to start things off with, but I don't think it's enough, Ezreal. Clutch Gaming, they're too far ahead. They're too hard to kill. They back themselves away, and all that preparation from CLG, that setup, doesn't pay off.
Yeah, it was a really good engage from Biofrost, but honestly, the Azir ultimate was so critical there. Rejecting Zach's engagement. Had that follow-up landed, maybe they get knocked down, but now it's solo. Looking for more as Clutch push up mid lane, 5-man strong. Reignover is over the wall on the side, gonna look for Febiven.
Trying to find it, man. Manages to get his way onto 2 airborne. Can they take him down? Yes, Febiven drops, and CLG has found their fight, making a double kill for Stixxay. CLG has found a potential channel back into this game, but they've got to do something with the momentum.
Yeah, they need to try to get more than just those 2 kills, but there's not a lot on the map to do, so they're gonna try to push up, pressure this tier 2 turret here, maybe get a little bit of gold. The death timer is pretty long on Febiven, so we'll see how aggressively they want to shove this up, but only 2 minions means they probably can't go for the inhibitor.
Having that Azir down is so much of the damage from Clutch Gaming. They're going to go for it. They've got the health bars. They've got everybody on their team here good to go. It's 5 versus 3. LirA's going to come up, try to buy a little bit of time, but Clutch Gaming not in the best spot to defend this right now. They will move up, force their opponents away with only the inhibitor turret, but a great strike back from CLG, showing they may be down, but they're not out just yet.
Yeah, definitely showing some life there. Nicely done from CLG. You know, that initial engage over by the Baron buff, and then again, Reignover is able to find a pocket of vision that Clutch does not have control over. And this is after the initial engage. Over the wall, you can see he's completely out of vision. Catches Febiven here, and it was honestly good job by Hakuho to get the Taric ultimate off before he gets pulled in, but it was no way it was going to land in time. And that is exactly the kind of fight that CLG can win. They do not win a fight where you don't catch the carry at the start. You need to have that sort of powerful engage.
And that's exactly what you set these guys up to need to do earlier on in this game. You said, if this goes late, if we're 30 minutes into the game and Febiven is not immediately killed at the start, he's going to destroy everybody. Yeah. And every other fight he has, that's his first death so far this game. And honestly, if you're CLG, you're going to need to take that number up to 2, 3, maybe even 4 if you want to win this.
Certainly so, but now the fact that they have actually knocked down an inhibitor turret means you win another team fight, you probably get an inhibitor, right? And if the minions are in the right position, if the death timers are long, there's potential to even end the game. So CLG definitely far behind, you know, down 4 dragons, down 5K, but if you can open up those pockets of vision, if you can find the perfect engage and that perfect team fight, they have potential to turn this game on its head and honestly win off maybe one fight.
Clutch Gaming is not going to yield their control over the game just based off a couple of picks. They know they're still in the driver's seat. They know that they're still the ones that have that easier to execute comp like you talked about earlier, and with Baron up in only a couple of seconds, they're going to look to burn it down.
Yeah, they're just going to straight up start this, try to rush it down. Look how fast Azir is killing this. I mean, he's the only damage there. Apollo and Hakuho are zoning. Reignover needs to get into the pit, but I think it's just going to be gone.
There's no way they can contest it. It just drops too fast. Clutch Gaming, fantastic call there, knowing they could rush it down.
Yeah, really well done. Apollo and Hakuho zoning them out, slowing them down. You know, with those Qs from Ezreal and the Iceborne Gauntlet, the 3-man squad burned that Baron down incredibly fast. And now, again, CLG on the back foot, but they have this pocket of vision. They know that Clutch doesn't have any sight here as they've swept it out. They have double pink, and they need to find these engages. But it's hard because anytime there is a dark spot like that on the map, Clutch should be playing respectful around it, right? They know they have vision all over the top side jungle here for CLG. They're not there. Where else could they be? It's probably going to be around that spot, and Clutch plays it smart and backs off.
Especially against something like a Zach, right? Something that has so many more gank avenues, so many more engage paths than most champions do. You've got to give respect to Clutch for giving respect to CLG and making sure they don't fall into that trap that could otherwise undo a really good play in taking the Baron.
Lots of respect all around.
Lots of respect. We are having a wholesome, respectful kind of a game here today, Ezreal, but now can Clutch Gaming find themselves a way into the enemy base? They still have 3 inhibitor turrets left to crack.
They definitely do, and they're going to move in here, try to step 1, take out the vision, clear out any opportunities for CLG to find that big engage. And I also really like the itemization here. Double locket, I think, makes a ton of sense when CLG essentially has to burst down a carry or they will lose a fight, and they're going to find Febiven.
Here we go, Febiven in some trouble, going to be throwing out the ulti, trying to keep himself alive. The Taric ult just in time, still going to be brought back into the rest of the team. Reignover able to supply that one as Stixxay goes on a rampage, bringing
taking him down. Solo walking away now as CLG, low HP, 5 members backing away as a team.
All at 1-4.
Clutch Gaming still looking to make something happen here. Apollo alive. The Boomerang keeping him at bay. Stixxay still full HP, maybe looking to find something here, but it's all going to disengage. Another death for the Clutch Gaming mid laner.
Yeah, really well done there by CLG. It's another stay of execution for them as they take down Febiven again, and without the Azir, there's not enough damage to really continue this fight, and CLG could actually force the Elder here. Taking that away from Clutch would be so big when Clutch has been working towards this win condition all game long.
Yeah, we mentioned just 6 minutes ago how if they maintain control for the next 6 minutes, they can get that game-winning buff. Well, they maintain control for about 5 minutes and 55 seconds, and unfortunately, at the very end of that, the Drake spawns in CLG. Although they've got no Drakes, although this buff isn't huge for them, like you just mentioned, you deny it from your opponents, you get yourselves a little bit of extra time to catch up, and CLG is not going to let this one slip away. Here's another replay.
Yeah, right past LirA. Biofrost flashes in, finds the engage onto Febiven, and despite the fact that the Taric ultimate landed, the follow-up CC was there. Reignover pulling in Febiven. He's going to get taken down, and honestly, Febiven has gotten picked off twice like this. You need to be more patient. You need to have your front line in position before you step up. Sit back, wait until you have full vision, then move forward, because you going down means the end of the fight for your team. Febiven needs to be playing more respectfully to the long-range engage. Yes, it is very hard playing against a Rakan and Zach. I am not saying that it is not. It's extremely difficult, and they can engage from a full screen away, but you need to take that and realize that and stand that full screen back until you have vision of everyone.
CLG now in a spot where they're feeling better and better as time goes on. I mean, if you rewind this game 10 minutes ago, you're feeling worse about it as CLG than you are right now. After having got that Elder buff, after having picked off the enemy mid laner twice, CLG knows this game is still within their grasp. They just have to keep playing smart, punishing those mistakes from Febiven. And now they're in enemy territory for so long this game, Ezreal. We've seen CLG on the back foot. We've seen all the action happening on the CLG half of the map, but it's now CLG who are saying, okay, we're going to put the pressure on you.
Yeah, this is a bit of an awkward situation. Clutch is pushing up mid. CLG is topside, but they're going to be the ones to kind of back off. They actually cancel their recalls now as they see Clutch was basing, and they will continue the push. They're going to get this tier 2 turret top and take down even more gold. So yeah, definitely closing the gap here, but they need to keep their foot on the pedal. They need to keep finding these good engages, because all it takes is one fight where you could not find Febiven, and he will still take it over. The Clutch Gaming comp is still easier to execute. It's still easier to kind of win in a front-to-back battle. So they need to control vision. They need to do their due diligence with that, sweeping out wards, laying down pinks. Everyone needs to be really on top of that.
And I totally agree, but one thing I also think that we've got to keep in mind here is momentum. It's something that we talk about so much in these games, and about how just one singular swing can really make a difference in everything that happens down the road. For Clutch Gaming to have such a strong way forward, such a good inertia earlier on in the game, looking like you're going to be able to lock this one away rather rapidly, and then all of a sudden you hit 2 big roadblocks with Febiven being picked off those 2 separate times. CLG has got to be feeling confident from that, and that shift in the way that the game is flowing could definitely mean more success for them if they are patient, if they continue to only go on to Febiven. Biofrost, we talked about him specifically earlier, some of his botched engages, how he didn't quite have the same impact that Hakuho did, but especially in that last fight, he was the one who went in. He found his way onto Febiven. He's redeeming himself for earlier this game.
Exactly. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward of these sorts of champions, right? When you play an engage style champion, you flub the engage, you're worth very little. But you hit the engage, you can solo end the team fight, and that is the kind of confidence that you need. It's just like what Afromu was doing earlier, right? Playing Thresh. If you miss those hooks, you're not worth a lot. If you hit him, well, you can win the game.
You're the zero or the hero.
Yep.
Let's see which one he ends up being as the True Shot Barrage finds its way into the brush. Not going to do a whole lot of damage. The Azir turret has been summoned as a defensive point here for Clutch.
And look how far back Febiven was playing. They spotted him in the bush. He was staying over back by his turret, knowing that he is the target. Solo starting this off now, and Febiven can move up.
Solo using the ulti to go in there. Reignover forced to flash out. Didn't want to be initiated on, and that's the thing. Even though Reignover's the tank here, Febiven and Apollo do so much damage, he can't afford to just blindly soak a bunch of it. Reignover looking for his way into the back line instead, only going to be finding one, and it is just Solo. CLG disengaging this one now, having popped the Taric ultimate. Reignover still going to be in some trouble. LirA on the front line, trying to lock him down long enough. Solo going to take some damage of his own, but it's Biofrost going in with the initiation. The cannon opens up. The life form disintegration rate providing the damage for Stixxay to get the kill. CLG have got themselves one. Glory after death will find nothing. 1-for-0 so far for CLG, but they still on the back foot now, making sure Clutch doesn't have the chance to find anything else.
Yeah, nicely done there by CLG. Despite the fact that the positioning was excellent from Clutch's carries, they can kite it out, and you can see Stixxay and huhi getting a lot of damage done on solo, able to take him down, but Febiven is adapting. He's playing these fights much better. He's standing so far back. Didn't let them find the engage, but it's a double TP in here for CLG. They want to force the Baron now before solo is back up, and Clutch have got to play carefully around this. You can't give up a good engage. If you get wiped here, remember, it's an open inhibitor.
This could just be the game if they get wiped there, but it also could be the game if they succeed. Clutch Gaming, they've got 9 seconds without their top laner still. Sejuani ulti thrown out just to try to buy some time. Baron down below half HP. Kalista
Spears
ready to
up.
rend along with the smite. Damage going through into the pit there. Apollo just trying to maintain distance, also getting a little bit of damage down. Lifeform disintegration ray going to be opened up once again. Secure from Kalista. Biofrost into the back lines, able to find multi-man initiation. LirA backing away from Febiven and the rest of Clutch on the run. Apollo going to be taken so low, but it's Stixxay who falls first. The health bars are so small on both sides. Solo leading the charge, looking to chase after Biofrost. Over the wall he goes. Bio still trying to get away from this one. Roar of the Slayer might be able to apply the slow, but they're far enough away now. Clutch Gaming, they lose out on the Baron, but they get the enemy AD carry.
Yeah, they do get the kill, and Clutch was so low, but critically for huhi, he didn't have a blue buff. He didn't have any mana left. If he had any mana in the tank there, likely could have cleaned up a couple more kills. Febiven and Apollo were both sitting on a 5% HP, but with no mana on your Vel'Koz and your AD carry down, that was such a close fight. I mean, CLG was ridiculously close to actually acing them, even though it ends up in a 1-for-0. Clutch playing this fight pretty slowly, delaying, trying to buy time for solo to get back up. He respawns now, immediately starts TPing in as they're moving forward, and you can see huhi already very low on mana at the start of this fight. Stixxay able to get the Ren kill there. Nice engage from Biofrost. Look at the health on Febiven and Apollo. Both get extremely low. Stixxay flashes in, but does not have the support of the rest of his team. He essentially jumped in there one before he could see the Quadra, the pendant in his eyes. You know, 1 or 2 more attacks, and he may have been able to take down the carries and then just lifesteal tank through the rest of that, but it was not to be.
Very, very close overall. Look at that, 6,795 damage from Stixxay's Kalista. Next closest, 3,979 from Apollo's Ezreal. So Stixxay is doing a lot of work in these fights, putting down all that damage, and it goes back to what we were talking about with this big tank line on the side of Clutch Gaming. That's a lot of health you got to shred through if you're Stixxay, so you're going to be putting up some big numbers, hitting all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, with the lethal tempo, the Lord Dominic's regards, you have the Blade of the Rune King to punch through that too, so you're stacking an incredible amount of spears. You have a lot of attack speed. You're doing percent HP damage, and you're going to be able to get that fight done if you can actually stack up enough spears and have the time and have everyone keeping you safe, which requires CLG to put pressure on the carries, which requires Reignover and Biofrost to keep finding the engages and putting pressure on Febiven and Apollo to shove them out of the fight. And it's this really interesting back and forth, because if you have a simple fight, Clutch will win it, but CLG needs to go in, engage, push the carries back, then back off and buy time for Stixxay, and it's this dance back and forth that is being executed very, very well from a deficit by CLG.
And that deficit has been at about the same place for so long now. Back when I chimed in to talk about the turrets that hadn't been taken from CLG, the game was about as far apart then as it is now, but now we're 16 minutes later. The gold deficit means less and less as the game goes on, because everyone is approaching those full build markers. You've got 1 more item to build on your mid laner. If you're CLG, you've got about half an item to build if you're Clutch Gaming, but both of these guys are nearing that GG point where you can't build anything else.
I mean, Azir is ridiculously strong at this point, so they are wave clearing pretty well. If CLG is going to go, it has to be on this wave, you feel, but they're knocking down that turret pretty quick.
Apollo taking some damage, Stixxay as well. Reignover charging up the elastic slingshot just in case, even though he won't be going in just yet. Turret down very crucially low. CLG knows that a little bit more time, maybe 1 more wave, and they can burn that one down. But
Baron's
no
gonna
Clutch is
expire.
thinking the same.
And that's the last Baron wave, so that's why they would have had to try to go on that one, but they're still willing to stick around. They have massive waves in the bot side, so they're just going to try to step forward and knock this down. In goes Reignover.
Solo's not going to allow him to go all the way into the back line, though. Taric ulti already going to be expended. A lot of health burned away from Reignover, barely going to be kept alive. Biofrost into the Clutch gaming line, but can't quite find the carries. LirA taken low. Stixxay's damage, able to rend that Clutch gaming tank low, but not dead. Front line's hurting on both sides. Bottom lane turret barely going to be saved here by Febiven. The inhibitor turret drops, but the inhibitor's still intact.
Yeah, I mean, on the top side, the inhibitor turret actually lived with a barely any HP, but it does stay alive, so that's 2 very low inhibitor turrets, 1 down still in the mid lane. Clutch's base is starting to be in a bit of shambles there, but it is actually full build now here for Febiven. He actually sold up the large rod, decided to go for a Banshee's Veil, trying to have perhaps a little bit more survivability against huhi, who can kind of knock him out from the back line, and trying to have more opportunities to actually enter the fights and now deal his damage.
And one more reminder, in case you have any overreactions from this game that has honestly taken us on one hell of a roller coaster ride so far, go ahead and send them in using hashtag NALCS to Dash, Jat, and Mark Z so they can break them down on the analyst desk after the dust finally settles on this one. It's still a 5,500 gold game. TP coming in from Darshan as CLG starting to force out the Elder Drake already, daring Clutch Gaming to come into them and make this fight happen. Reignover in position over the wall in case he needs to utilize the slingshot. Stixxay still just going to be filling that Drake full of all kinds of spears.
Yeah, I mean, Clutch, if they're going to go, they need to force Stixxay off before he can get too many spears for a guaranteed execute. It is going to take a long time for CLG to kill it, so they have some time, but if Clutch gets this dragon, they can win the game, and in goes Solo.
Solo starting things off. Reignover going to be jumping here into the back line as well. Only brings the front line forward. True Shot Barrage goes through. LirA going to be barely walking himself away from this one. Life Form Disintegration Ray onto the back lines of Clutch Gaming. Both sides hobbling away, looking to regenerate here a little bit. huhi's still firing off those spells.
From huhi.
Turret self-destructs mid lane in the meantime, as everyone continues fighting back and forth on this. Stixxay has so many spears in that Drake. It's down to about half HP. Solo still in the front line here, looking to just try to keep CLG away if he can. Apollo down to half HP. Fight's going to be restarting. Biofrost drops. Febiven grabbing himself that one. Apollo low, though. You've got to keep your eyes on the carries. Redemption going to be used. Elder Drake still below half HP. Another ulti comes in, and Solo's starting things off. 2 more dead on the side of CLG. Stixxay and Reignover looking to run away as Clutch Gaming find themselves the Drake. They find themselves the fight. They're looking to find themselves Stixxay. The stun hits. The QSS procs. The damage continues coming in. But where are the carries? Stixxay still going to be taken low. More CC comes through. True Shot Barrage from all the way back in the mid lane. Solo grabs the kill. Reignover hobbles away. And now the turret's under pressure in the mid lane. The inhibitor's likely going down here.
That's the game.
This should be the game.
Clutch is just going to clean it up. They get the Elder Dragon. They have an incredible fight with Solo finding so much success with that second ultimate, and that is going to do it. CLG fighting tooth and nail, but not able to hold on. CLG
put up one hell of a defense, but Clutch Gaming played that last fight the way it needed to be played. You mentioned 40% CDR on that Sion earlier. That equates to a 36-second cooldown on the level 3 ultimate. There's no way CLG was expecting that one. It catches them by surprise, and it wins the game.
It certainly did. I mean, Solo played incredibly well in that last team fight, finding that second ultimate, then flashing over the wall, finding huhi and taking him out. And this was such a well-played fight from both sides. It felt like both teams dancing back and forth, so much tension around that Elder Dragon. CLG gets very little reward for taking it, but they need to deny it from their opponents who have accrued this 4-dragon advantage, and they're not quite able to do it. It was very, very close, but by the slimmest of margins, Clutch holds on, battles back, and finds their win.
Clutch Gaming looking great in that last team fight. There's so many times that you see games get decided by micro, so many times you get to see them decided by macro, but CLG came back in a macro sense this game in that they were able to play around, they were able to take control of the game back a little bit. They also came back in some of those micro victories that they took, finding Febiven and picking him off, but that last final team fight, that Sion ultimate was just so big. from Solo. And honestly, for Clutch Gaming, you've got to be feeling good. Racking up another win here, continuing to make more and more of an argument for yourselves going into playoffs.
Definitely so. And also, we talked earlier about finding different win conditions on a team. The more ways your team has to win, the better it feels. And Solo is not who most people look at as the guy who's going to carry the games. And honestly, today, I think he did. I think that he laned incredibly well on the top side. He did actually a lot of contributions in the team fights as far as damage. He built very, very well, gets the early 40% CDR, even has a locket to help his team survive. He's finding clutch engages. I think he played incredibly well. And having that as a performance out of your top laner for Clutch, this guy who's supposed to be maybe going even or kind of gracefully losing or whatever, have him really perform so well in a game like this is so big, because we know Febiven can carry games. We know LirA and Apollo can carry games, and if Solo can too, then damn, this team is pretty good.
And that's what we were talking about, that whole Envy with upgrades theory, right? What people were saying by the end of last year with what would Envy look like if they had top-tier solo laners? Well, we're starting to see what this team can look like when those solo laners step up, but now we're going to send things down to Avli May and Clutch Gaming's Emperor in the mid lane.
Thanks, guys. No pentakill this game, but you have picked up Clutch Gaming's 5th win in a row. What's happening behind the scenes that's allowing you to perform so well?
I think it's just the process. Like, we're learning so much so quickly, and I feel like our coaching staff is doing such a good job, and also the players are working really hard. And yeah, it just feels great, to win and also see a lot of progress.
Tell me what happened in that game-winning dragon fight, because it seemed like it was chaotic at a point, and then you guys came out.
Yeah, it was kind of a stall when you are like 5 against 5 at the dragon, and then I think their Rakan kind of messed up, and then we killed one guy. And if you kill one guy so late in the game, then you cannot lose the fight. And we had Sion ulti as well, and then they got the caught out of position. So yeah, I think they messed up, but we obviously played well.
Well, looking at your opponents for today, CLG, how did their performance today compare to when you played them the first time?
I mean, I think they had a pretty good early game. Obviously, they have a really strong bot lane, so they could take our towers. But then, like, I feel like I don't really like the Vel'Koz pick at all. Like, obviously, they played well around it, but I feel like we played pretty poorly. Like, we gave them the comeback, kind of, or I did, because I played pretty bad. So, yeah, I just don't really like their draft, and I think we had better picks. So, but I think they have a good plan. They can definitely win against teams playing like this.
Now this week, the 8.4 patch has come out. There's a lot of changes to mid lane. What are your thoughts on the patch so far?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see a lot of mid lane changes. I haven't really got into it too much. Like, the patch already comes out like 2 days before we play LCS, so I try to not play. I play solo queue obviously, but I try to play the champions that don't require with the new item builds. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I have to look into it, and it's gonna be exciting for sure. And the guy who tier crafts the most is gonna stand out ahead, so it's gonna be fun.
Are there any surprise champions that you think are gonna pop up in the mid lane, or ones that you're hoping for?
Well, I think Victor is gonna be good again, so I'm really excited to pick up Victor again. We saw Caps today in the ULCS. He was carrying so hard, so yeah.
Well, congratulations again on your win, and for more on this game, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Avli. Febiven and the rest of Clutch Gaming picking up their 2nd win against CLG so far this split. In reference to the meta, I'm not going to say that Victor's coming back because of us, but I have a feeling that Victor might be coming back because we, make this champ work. No, in all reality, you guys saw the call-outs throughout the duration of the game for some overreactions. We thought that this would be a good one to start making some, divisive statements, and I'll let these two experts tell me whether or not they are overreactions or the contrary. So first things first, we've actually got an overreaction from one of our own analysts right here. Riot Jat, blue side is pretty OP on patch 8.3.
Yeah, so this is one of the big reasons I picked CLG in this game, because coming into this game, blue side was 10-1 in North America because Skarner, Gangplank, and Zoe are all super valuable first picks. Clutch is one of the only teams to ban all 3 of them, and CLG is now also the only team to lose on blue side this patch in NA. They're the 2 losses of the blue side 10-2. So I'm going to say that is not an overreaction.
So, but it's indicative then of some kind of an issue with CLG, right?
Yeah.
Well, that too.
Maybe not specific to the side.
Yeah, I'm
but-
not sure I'm quite ready to fully overreact on it because it could just be a meta thing. Like Europe is a lot more balanced. I think they're 10-10 on 8.3. They banned Skarner a lot more, where Skarner gets picked here and then wins. So it might just be the kind of thing where people are slow to throw it on that red side must ban list. And so maybe it'll stabilize a little bit. But if people keep leaving up one of those 3 power picks on red side, then yeah, blue side's broken then.
Yeah.
Well, we got just 8 more games to go in this week. We'll
see.
see if that score line normalizes a little bit. Moving right along, Ninja Cows says Febiven is easily the best mid in NA.
He was making a great case early on in the game, and then he died a million times to engages. You heard him say he played pretty bad, so I'm going to say overreaction.
Yeah, we're working up some mid lane tier lists for tomorrow's countdown show.
Yeah,
so I've been thinking about this a lot. I am going to say it's an overreaction. I don't think he's easily the best, but I do think he deserves to be in the conversation. And if Clutch continues to win at the rate they are winning, there's a chance he's there because he's the best player on that team.
All right.
I don't even think that's that big of a debate. So if he's the best player on a second place team, then he's there. But for now, it's an overreaction.
All right, this next one's a toughie. George Gondim, I believe, says CLG is out of playoffs. They will not make the playoffs.
Not an overreaction.
Not an overreaction.
Especially if Jack keeps picking them to win.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yes. So
Overreaction or truth?
CLG is 3-8.
Wow.
The fewest wins I've seen when we've had best of ones 18-game season make the playoffs is 8. They have 7 games left. They need to win 5.
Wow.
They can't lose 3 games, and they play Golden Guardians, but then Cloud9, Liquid, Echo Fox, and TSM, all still on their schedule, and that's not counting the FlyQuest or Optic games.
Right.
That's why I think they put so much pressure on themselves to 2-0 this week, because they kind of knew in the back of their heads that they didn't, that they're probably not making playoffs.
And then they did not get a good start on it.
And they lost.
Yeah, there it is.
So,
Next up, Pravi Plavy. God, I hope that's correct. Are we at the point where we can agree that Bio, Stixxay, and Reignover, just as RO, were byproducts of Doublelift, Afromu, and huhi?
ooh, they are the weaker ends of the duos after they have been pulled apart. I think that's a bit of a broad question, so I am
Yeah.
going to call it an overreaction to say all of them are in that boat. I think Stixxay has been worse than Afromu, and he had his best game of the split just now. It's a really tough one, though, because I do think, like, comparative to the other two, they are the weaker half.
Right.
But I don't think we can say that they were byproducts of those players. They're still decent players in their own right.
Right. I feel like, especially with Biofrost, he was on like one of the most dominant teams of all time in North America, and then he comes to a team that's struggling a lot. It's really hard to find exactly where he lies. I suspect it's the case where he was slightly overrated during his time on TSM when he was getting placed 2nd and 3rd in a lot of voting lists, and probably slightly underrated right now. I think he actually had some really great engages this game and was one of the key reasons this game went on for so long. So I'd say overreaction.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for our overreactions here. Before we go, I did want to ask one more thing related to Clutch Gaming and the win they picked up. Top of day, we talked about that 3rd place tie between them and Team Liquid and the trends for both of these teams. How are we feeling about Clutch after today's game?
They make it so hard to be like, yes, like they started this game great. There's 3 winning lanes on CLG's team comp. They survive the early pressure, even in gold, despite being down a ton of turrets. They start flying back in the game. You think it's over. And then Febiven, their best player, just keeps dying, and it stalls out forever. And the only reason they win, basically, is because they had double Infernal Drake in the late game with a better scaling team comp.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can I say that this is like really coming together? They're good,
right?
But I just have a hard time being like number 3 team.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to divorce the results of them winning 7 of 11 games and 5 in a row from what I'm seeing and the way that they're winning. Like, we actually, before we decided the overreactions, had a minute of Reignover's boneheaded jungle pathing at the start of the game, which allowed LirA to get that early game jungle lead, and then they still lost the 3 outer turrets. Like, those aren't things that a super good team does, but there are definitely lots of good aspects of Clutch Gaming. They have very good late game team fighting, and there's a lot of good things, but they have not put it all together yet.
Yeah, winning the last 5. Something's going right for the squad. Up next, TSM hope to topple Echo Fox. Don't go anywhere. If you're looking for player insight, Freak, Sneaky, and Meteos, we'll be bringing you the cast on NALCS, or rather for the NALCS Lounge on Riot Games 2. We'll see you soon.
One more hit will trigger that Sejuani stun. More CC comes out, and that is it. He brings the hammer down. Yes, they go in. The charm's going to be down. The knockup is there. Reignover coming in from the side, and Stixxay grabs himself a kill.
We can fight. I'm killing Vel'Koz. Kill the Baron. Kill the Baron. Kill the Baron. Kill the Baron.
No.
Manages to get his way onto 2 airborne. Can they take him down? Yes, Febiven drops, and CLG has found their fight, making a double kill for Stixxay. Biofrost into the back lines, able to find multi-man initiation. LirA backing away, Febiven and the rest of Clutch on the run. Apollo going to be taken so low, but it's Stixxay who falls first. Elder Drake still below half HP. Another ulti comes in, and Solo's starting things off. 2 more dead on the side of CLG.
And that is going to do it. CLG fighting tooth and nail, but not able to hold on.
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. Since we know the importance of lending a hand, we want to highlight players and plays that help the team bring home the big W. If you have a favorite assist from this week that you want us to highlight, tweet the clip with the hashtag NALCS and the hashtag StateFarmAssist, and we may feature it in a future episode. So get out there and bring some support.